Hi.
So Halloween happened.
Yeah.
I told you we took Halloween seriously.
Hey, I was back to work the next day.
I was back to my new job. Yeah, so I got a new job, and my schedule's all over the place. And Halloween happened. That was fun.
Yeah.
It really was fun. But yeah, we gotta get back to a regular schedule of filming these things.
Well, a schedule. I don't know if the regular schedule would for filming.
My schedule is not regular.
Regular schedule for publishing.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to be talking about starships today. All kinds of our favorites, our least favorites, and just ones that are interesting and kind of stand out a bit.
Yeah. That sounds like fun. We can do that.
I'm Ollamh.
I'm recovering.
Welcome back to the Nerdening.
So don't tell me how to act or how it should be. All we wanted is to be free. We don't want to be like you. You see, we just like a little crazy, and we're following our heartbeats. We don't want to be like you.
When it comes to talking about starships, it seems like there's so many obvious ones to go to. You got your Star Wars universe, you got your Battlestar universe, hell, you have your Doctor Who universe. There's lots of things to talk about there. I don't know, like, everybody's got such a hard-on for the Millennium Falcon, and it's a cool ship, but to me it's just a space RV.
Well, it's more of a I suppose it would be fair to look at it as like a space U-Haul more. It's small cargo, not like massive, not like massive amounts of cargo, but even more than that, it is a smuggling ship.
Yeah, it's the rebel ship,
Well, no, even before the rebel ship, it's a smuggling ship.
Well, it was a cargo freighter, the YT whatever kind of cargo
1300.
freighter, and it was designed to fit onto cargo things like this to push things around space like a space tugboat, or whatever. And that's cool. I like seeing it, repurposed in the way that Han Solo did it and all that. So I mean, there's certainly some badassery to be had to the way they upgraded the engines and everything.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like I wanted to get a Honda Goldwing, which is like your cruiser bike. And then they have all the luggage racks and everything on it, and I wanted to strip it down. So it had none of that extra weight. That's virtually what the Millennium Falcon is.
Yeah. Now, talking about Star Wars, there are some fairly nice ships. Like, I do appreciate how they did the different fighters for the Rebellion.
Yeah.
You have your X-Wing, which is kind of your general purpose,
Dogfighter. Travel.
Yeah, fighter. Then you have your A-Wings, which are your scout ships. They're not as heavily armed, but they are significantly faster.
Yeah.
Then you have your Y-Wings that are slower, but they can carry a lot of torpedoes and missiles. So that is your bomber.
Well, I thought that is the Y-Wing. I'm sorry.
The B-Wing is, as far as the movies and stuff, the newest one. And kind of an all-purpose, it can be repurposed for doing scouting or bombing or a lot of different things.
What was it? Something that I was playing some of the one of the Star Wars board games with a friend, and it's like you're in space battles on a board game kind of thing. And Prince Shizor's ship was pretty pimpin'. It almost looked like one of the shadow ships from Babylon 5. Those were pretty pimpin' too.
He was the leader of the most of the biggest the biggest criminal syndicate.
Yeah,
in the universe, the one that Emperor Palpatine acknowledged and worked with him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and for him to be an alien and get the respect of Palpatine, he's got to have some. He's got to be.
He's got chops.
Pretty big. He's got to be a badass. Mm. Now, of course, you have your bad ships in the Star Wars universe, which are pretty much just about every single TIE fighter.
Yeah, the twin ion engine thing. They just seem, they look, I wondered when I was trying to understand how the TIE fighter worked as a kid. I was like, are those things on the side, are those like supposed to be shields? Or are they just like energy collectors or whatever? In either case, they're not very effective shields.
Oh no,
they block your vision.
They have no shields.
No.
That's the thing. The TIE fighters, until they came up with the TIE Fighter Advanced, that kind of, I'm not sure if that's technically canon or not, but they have no shields.
Well, they did have the TIE Interceptor in Return of the Jedi.
Yes, but I don't think those had any shields either. The TIE Fighters, the TIE Bombers, and the TIE Interceptors, I don't think any of the three of those had shields. So, automatically, those are a big bag of suck.
Yeah, and just as useful as Stormtrooper armor.
And you think about it, this is the idea behind the Empire. It's build them cheap. And,
build a lot of them.
Yeah, build them cheap, build a lot of them, throw hundreds or thousands of them out, and they're going, you'll overwhelm them by numbers. Who cares if it gets blown apart? It's a cheap ship. Who cares if your pilot dies? We can always force others into the Army or the Navy. And that's kind of their attitude, and their way of doing things was just, we really don't care what happens to you.
We got all the money,
Yeah.
We got all the resources.
If you don't get in and fly, we're going to kill you ourselves.
How about
if you
that?
do get in and fly, you may be able, if you're skilled enough of a pilot, it is nimble, and they are nimble and they are fast. In some of the extended universe stuff, Han Solo used to fly TIE fighters and is still alive, and that automatically earns him a lot of respect with the smugglers, because it's like, wait, you flew a TIE fighter in the Imperial Navy and you're still alive.
You're like the red shirt that just dodged at the right time all the time.
No, he's like Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty was a red shirt.
Yeah.
Red shirt all his life. He never died.
Well, when I was rewatching the original Star Trek, and Kirk wears a red shirt plenty of times. There's a couple times.
A couple of times, yes. Not a lot of times, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because in that era, it was always gold was the command line.
Mm.
Gold was command line, red was engineering, security, blue was science and medical. Of course, they flip-flopped the red and gold around when they got to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Next generation, you had the red was command, yellow was sciences and security.
Yeah. So other kinds of space craft, like form and function. We were talking earlier about the Nostromo from Alien.
Right.
I mean, it looks like, it virtually
Big surprise.
is.
He brings up Alien.
Yeah, you know what? I need to watch different sci-fi stuff. But, so the thing about the Nostromo was it was designed to look like basically an oil refinery in space.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. And in space, as long as everything's airtight, it doesn't matter what it's shaped as.
You don't have to hide all of the machinery and stuff behind walls. As a matter of fact, you're better off not doing that.
Yeah.
Because then if something breaks, you can get right to it without having to take like an 8x12 piece of metal off of the wall to get to it.
But one thing I loved about the way they filmed the Nostromo was they filmed it like it was a haunted mansion in the hills of Transylvania, or something like that.
I can see that.
Well, and just the cinematography there was, very well done. What a lot of people may not know, you might not know, that the Sulaco, the colonial marine ship in Aliens, it was designed specifically to look like a tactical shotgun. It was a big ship that looks like you could hold it in your hands and kill somebody with it. It had blades sticking out the front and a bunch of gun turrets all over it and everything. It was a cool design. The form and function there.
Yeah. One of the weird ones from Star Wars that the extended universe is the Sun Crusher.
Sun Crusher?
This was this only ever really came up in the trilogy Jedi Academy. But basically, it was the next step up from, you start off with, you have your Death Stars, you have your World Devastators, you have all these really neat, destructive ships and weapons and stuff. This was the next step up. It was a one-man craft that had quantum durasteel plating on it, several layers, and had a weapon that could fire out and blow up a sun. So the entire solar system that this craft is in is just gone. And it had to have all that plating to survive
the explosion. Well, there's plenty of stars to test on. If you can afford to keep building that craft until you get it right.
But yeah, it was, that was one of them that I always thought was, I don't think it's one of the best. I think it was one of those, well shit, we've had the Death Star blowing up planets. We've had the World Devastator that would mine planets apart to create drone ships. What do we do now? What can we blow up next? And unlike the movies, they went with blowing up a solar system rather than blowing up several planets at once. Yeah,
with a Starkiller base. And that was my big beef with The Force Awakens. I was like, really? Can we build something else?
I thought it was an interesting idea, because it's like in their test run, they blew up, 5 or 6 planets?
Yeah.
And that was just their test run. That wasn't their one big shot. So, all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, now we're going to completely completely gather up all of the sun's energy, and we're going to blow up every single rebellion planet.
All at once in this system.
It's just, not just in that one system. They hit different planets in different systems.
Okay.
It wasn't just, we're going to hit, we hit 5 planets in this system. No, they were basically saying, look, we just proved that we can blow up 5 different planets in different solar systems with one shot. And that was just a test run. Now we're going for that's why it was so imperative that they blow up the Starkiller base. And why it didn't matter if it didn't move.
Okay.
They're going to blow up, they are going to blow up the rebellion, period. It's just, the rebellion is going to be blown up.
But eventually, you fire off enough shots, you're going to have to move to be within range of another star.
Why, if there are 20 planets that house 95% of the rebellion leadership and manpower, and you can blow up those 20 in your first honest
You're doing
use,
pretty good then, yeah.
You've just taken out 95% of the leadership and the personnel of your enemy. You're gonna win at that point. You have just, you have just terrified these people. You don't even necessarily need to move it. You're pretty much dead.
Just for all the resources that went into that, I mean, so virtually everything that went into that for a one shot kill.
If you
and then you might never need it again.
Yeah. If you can wipe out your enemy with that one shot.
Now, does the Starkiller base, if it doesn't move around, does it count as a spaceship?
I don't really think so. I mean, number one, the sheer size would count as a star base.
Yeah,
it is a base. It's like the Death Star. It's a star base. It's not really a star ship.
Now, one thing that was cool there was the new Star Destroyers that they have, like the part where the front of the ship had like a cross on it and that. But they're actually shooting a different kind of gun off of that destroyer. That's based on the same kind of technology that lightsabers are made of.
Okay.
So that's something that a lot of people, they don't, of course they don't just come out and say it, obviously, but that kind of blue-purple, those missiles they fired at Finn and Poe. I need to watch the movie again. They fire at them. Those were actually based off the same kind of crystal technology that the lightsaber
Okay.
used.
Oh, that would be nasty.
So, what else
anyway,
we got for crafts?
well, first we need to take a quick break here, and we will be back once we have racked our brains and figured out what we're going to talk about next.
We'll see you then.
And we are back. So, one of the interesting kind of progressive ships that that is in a gaming series is the Wing Commander series.
Yeah, that is pretty cool stuff.
They start off with your very basic kind of general ships, and and then as the games go on, they get a bit more specifically purposed. You get a bomber that has basically has turrets on either side and the back. You get, different ships have different payloads, shields, everything. Even the enemy ships had different designs and functionality. Like if there's an exhaust on the left-hand side, they always turn right. Because it would be difficult to basically rotate over that exhaust and then change direction.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about the Wing Commander, your basic Wing Commander fighter, was they all seemed like they were based. It was very World War II kind of fighter plane kind of inspiration.
Well, you're talking the movie now.
Yeah, I am talking the
game.
movie,
The game was very different. The game was very futuristic. It wasn't World War II in space. I hate that movie. I hate that movie with a passion.
I do appreciate how they used bullet time before The Matrix did, though.
Yeah, but it was just such a lousy movie. Such a lousy movie.
Could have been better. Freddie Prinze Jr. and all.
Yes, and Freddie Prinze Jr. and the guy who played Maniac would later go on to ruin Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Okay, we got a lot of grief here. So, the Wing Commander ships, I like that.
They had thought behind them, which was nice.
Well, we were talking about another ship that had a lot of, two ships. So that capital class ships that had a lot of thought put behind them was the Battlestar Galactica and the Starship Enterprise, specifically the Next Generation Enterprise. That was the NCC
D.
Yeah, that was the D. Yeah, it was the D.
Damn right.
And but man, the Juggernaut class that they had in the reboot here recently, that was just a super bad ship too.
Well, and that one was a little bit of a cheat too.
Yeah.
I mean, that one was based on future. That was based on future technology. Mm-hmm. That was based on Nero. And, on Nero's ship and kind of his stuff. That was, okay, well, there's a lot of bad shit out there. And, well, we just happened to kind of get some information on this really bad shit that Kirk and team dealt with before. And,
we're going to apply that science.
Yeah.
And that's why they can do Warp 11.
Well, that and the warp, the warp designations and numbers and stuff changed over time. Mm-hmm. That's why, I mean, in the original series, I think they could go up to easily go up to warp 10, I think, and beyond. And it's like, wait, but then the Next Generation says, well, we can't go beyond, you can't get to warp 10 because warp 10 would literally be light speed in subspace, and that would be bad.
That's where you basically make a singularity that turns into a black hole, and you guys are gone.
Bad idea. Yeah.
But Battlestar Galactica, that one, I really appreciate how they made it work with it being an analog ship. So we have a spaceship where people still have to pick up phones.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. No digital, lots of wires.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, and they were always kind of, well, in the new one, it was a really old ship. In the old one, it was in the 70s, so, or late 70s, early 80s. So it was like, well, realistic technology.
Yeah.
Now their 80s redo where they had the space bikes. Those
God, and those silly pharaoh looking helmets and everything.
Although the Egyptian helmets were in the original.
I know
they were totally in the original. That was part of that was part of that idea and some of the
form of the story and all that. But man, Battlestar Galactica straight up took nuclear hits.
Yeah.
In space. And it wasn't pretty, but, you look at the damage afterwards and like, why isn't the ship destroyed?
I'm not sure on this, but I think it would actually be easier to handle that type of thing in space than in an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if that explosion, punctures even part of the hole, it's all of a sudden you have a massive outpouring of air that's going to blow.
Decompression, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to blow outward. And, well, your ship's not going to get caught on fire because there's no atmosphere. There's no oxygen for it to burn. So it's kind of just...
And most of the radiation would be blown away as well.
Yeah.
Virtually.
So I'm not so sure that saying that, well, it was in space necessarily makes it tougher, or just means that, yeah, the nuke really isn't going to do as much damage.
Okay. Well, I'll give it that.
Which is, again, I have no idea. I leave that type of thing up to the people who do stuff like,
design these crafts for
the people that sit there and do all the science stuff, the science of type things.
The math.
Yeah.
Like, because science. That
guy. The guys that sit there and figure out all the calculations for this and what would and wouldn't work.
Oh, he's that guy. But what else do we have? Like, of course I'm going to throw in here the Predator spacecraft. I loved how it was just, it looked like it came to kill you, kind of thing, in terms of just design. I don't know how it would function, but...
And then you have, like, the birds of prey for both the Romulans and the Klingons that are, they look like birds. The Klingons in particular, they really look like birds. They've got the big wings that come out and stuff like that. Mm. And I think it was the Romulans that actually had the falcons face. And... Well, they had the face on the front, and they also had wings on the underside of the wings of the ship.
They had a dual wing set up alongside of the fuselage.
Yes, but they had the wings painted.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
They had Roman-like wings, the segmented wings.
Of course they would.
Well, yeah, they were totally based on the Romans. Romulus and Remus.
Yeah.
They founded Rome.
Mm. What else is out there? Like,
one that, of course, I have to bring up, is the TARDIS, which is just, it's one of those fun ones, but we never really see it function properly.
Yeah, like, so you might not know this, like, you might know about Doctor Who, you might have heard of the Chameleon Circuit, but the real story about why it's a call box.
Well, yeah, all the TARDISes have a chameleon circuit that makes them blend in. Well, one of the first things that the Doctor and Susan went to was Earth in the 1960s, and the chameleon circuit broke, so it always stayed a phone box. But even after that, the Doctor's TARDIS was never really precise. He never really, it was always difficult for him to figure out exactly where to go and where to land. And it could fly through space, but...
It was a time and spacecraft.
Well, that, and it also was supposed to have 6 people to fly it. And the Doctor had maybe 1 or 2 companions at a time. There was only one time that the Doctor's TARDIS ever had 6 people to fly it, and actually flew right.
Yeah, there's that. But no, the reason that the production kept it a call box was because... They initially wanted to change it up for every episode. Wherever they landed, they wanted it to be the thing. And they're like, that's going to get expensive.
Yeah, that's...
So somebody just reach in there and break that chameleon circuit off, and
and
we're good.
It was basically, well, do we have doors that open? Do we just have them kind of like mysteriously materialized? They come out from around behind? Or, no, screw it, we're just going to have one prop. It's going to be this. The doors open. Done. But yeah, now one of the interesting things that I've read recently was the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, and he has an interesting style. They have the gravitonics system, where basically they're taking very minuscule radiation and stuff from the universe, and that's kind of what's fueling the ship. Mm-hmm. So you have, you are going to be flying, you can fly endlessly. You never have to stop and refuel.
Which is something I always thought we might do with future spacecraft, because there is all amounts of ambient radiation.
Yeah, but it's making sure that you have what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, if if you specify this type of radiation and you're flying through, a nebula that has that type of radiation, you better hope that you have enough to get you to the next spot where this radiation is plentiful.
Well, that makes me think of the ancient craft that they had in Stargate Universe. Like, just naturally, they all are on this ship randomly, and it starts to fly towards a star, and they start saying their goodbyes, and they're like, well, I guess we're boned, man. And then it opens up some collectors, and they just fly into the edge of the star, and boom, they got all the energy they need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that then, I guess.
Yeah.
The Serenity, of course, from Firefly is a favorite. It's basically the poor man's Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about all I can think of, really. And we're kind of getting towards the end of the episode here, so.
I think so.
Any other
Starbug.
last minute? Oh, Starbug and Red Dwarf. Those are just fun and amusing little things. Starbug is a crappy ship. The Red Dwarf is a mining ship filled with miners. So
yeah.
It's low budget, and it's low budget. Have lots of cigarettes, lots of booze.
That's all they needed.
Done.
Another really cool one. There was one of those kind of failed sci-fi series in the 90s called Space Above and Beyond. If you can find anything for it on YouTube, check it out. It came out around the same time as they rebooted Twilight Zone, and
I'm pretty sure that's on Netflix, or at least was. I don't know if they've taken it off of the streaming Netflix or not, but I'm pretty sure it was on Netflix.
At least if you can find the pilot episode for the show, that was pretty cool. The rest of the show kind of petered out a little bit after time, but their fighter craft in that were very interesting, because they were kind of X-Wing inspired, kind of World War II flight inspired, but they could do some stuff.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that pretty well kind of finishes it off. I think next week we'll be talking about B movies versus independent movies. And there is a difference. So yes, if let us know what you think of some of the spaceships that we've mentioned. If you have a particular favorite, by all means, let us know down below.
Yeah,
send
tell
us
us
a
what we
tweet.
missed.
Yeah, if we missed your favorite, let us know what your favorite is.
I mean, it's such a massive genre. Next thing you know, we'll be talking about Zords from Power Rangers.
I don't think they quite qualify.
Is spacecraft?
No.
Okay.
Anyway.
We'll have to do a mech one sometime.
Anyway, as always, thank you guys very much for watching.
And stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions
And the American Machine.
We'll see you next time.
Cheerio. And wow, this is like the really, really low res version. This is like the super low res version. Now, learn grammar, dude. And you have to have and.
Why can't I insert commas?
I'm just going to say your country is not part of Europe. It does.